The two words mean the same thing. Christ, same thing. Christ is Greek, comes from Greek. Messiah comes from Hebrew. So when we say that Genesis 12:2, the B part of the verse, is a messianic prophecy, we are saying that it is talking about the coming Christ. When God tells Abraham, all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you, not just the Jews. Yes, there is a blessing coming to the Jews through Abraham. And in fact, there were no Jews when God spoke this to Abraham. He is recognized as the first Jew. But the blessing is not going to be just for the Jews. It will eventually turn into something for all the peoples on earth. How? Through Jesus Christ. Through Jesus Messiah. That's why I told you at the beginning of this message, you got to believe in him. You got to have faith in him. You got to be baptized in his name. That's the blessing. Watch this now. First verse in the New Testament. You should be able to quote this verse. You quote Genesis 1:1. You need to be able to quote the first verse in the New Testament, which is actually a very important verse, even though it does not look like it on the face of it. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ. That's what the old King James says. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Every word in that verse is important. And I wish I had time to just talk about this verse. But watch it now. Matthew says Jesus is the son of Abraham. So when God told Abram, all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you, Matthew knew about this scripture in Genesis when he sits down and starts to write his story about the Messiah, about the Christ, and he says, this is the beginning of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Not Adam. He didn't start at Adam. He started with Abraham. Yet, this messianic prophecy cannot be fulfilled. Let's go back now, because I gave you 3 of those, but what about that first one? This messianic prophecy cannot be fulfilled until what? Abraham got to have some children. Help me, somebody. There can be no son of Abraham if there is no son. And when God gave Abraham this command to leave, at that time, Abram had no children. Abram had no children. God told him, I'm going to make you a great nation, but he had no children at the time. And not only that, he was old. He wasn't just old. He wasn't just OLD old. He was OLDE old. Somebody help me, somebody. Watch this now. Abram was how old? Boy, Abram looked over at Sarah. Sarah told Abram, you better look somewhere else. I don't know what you're going to do. You better get a handmaiden. You better get a servant girl, but time is far spent. Help me, somebody. God told him, I'm going to make you a great nation, but he ain't got no kids. God said all the nations of the earth will be blessed in you. He has no descendants. So how can Jesus, we see the rest of we see the end of the story. You got to get into the story as it's happening. How can we have a blessing for all the nations of the earth and I don't have a son? How can my nation, or how can I become a great nation and I don't have offspring? So let's put it all together now. God, you want me to leave what I know. You want me to leave my relatives. You want me to leave my father's house. You want me to go to a land you ain't even telling me where's that. I got to gather up all my belongings and possessions. And I got a lot of them because I'm rich. And I have to take them with me. And since I'm taking them with me, that means I'm putting them at jeopardy, because as I'm trying to move and go to a land or a place with all this stuff, all this people, now I'm at risk. I'm at risk of a war. Hello? I'm at risk of somebody coming along and taking them away. You want me to put all of that at risk to go to a place that you're not showing me, and I don't even have no children. That what you want me to do, God? But you telling me I'm going to be a great nation? You telling me all the nations of the earth, and all that sounds good, but I'm looking at what I'm looking at. But the text says, Abram went just as the Lord told him. Because he believed in the promises of God. And then the problems started. Oh, you missed your shout. I said the problems started. The problems started after he did what God commanded. Ooh. Oh. You ever felt like bad times start to come just as soon? I mean, as soon as it's like you say something to yourself in your head, and it's like the devil heard what you told yourself. You're like, I didn't even tell nobody. I'm just talking to myself in my head. And you tell yourself, all right, this it for me and God from now on. You tell you I'm gonna do this, I'm going to church, I read my Bible every day, I'm gonna treat my family, all these promises you make to yourself, and you just saying it to yourself. You ain't even saying it out loud, you just talking to yourself in your head. And then later on that day, not the next day, later on in the afternoon, you come under assault like never before. And you think to yourself, God, can you give me a break? I mean, I just told you what I want to do. I just told you I'm trying to give my life to you, and you seem like you now making it harder for me. Y'all ain't never said that? You ain't never yelled that to God? Because life is tough. Life will knock you down on your knees. And we get bitter because sometimes we think because we said and decided we was going to do what God wanted us to do, that he ought to make it easy for us. But that's not the way it works. I'm sorry to tell you, it has taken me a while to learn, 45 years to learn. That's not how it works. I wish it worked like that, but that's not how it works. I wish it would become easy when you and I make a decision for God, but it does not. In fact, many times the problems start when? All right, you don't believe? Watch this. Abram left and went. He took his wife, he took his nephew Lot, he took their possessions, and they went to the land of Canaan. And there was a famine in the land. Whew. And there was a famine in the land. Somebody say, what is a famine? A famine means you open up that pantry door. A famine means you open up that refrigerator door, ain't nothing but ketchup and bologna. Ain't nothing to eat. That's what a famine is. Wait a minute now, you done got me leaving home. Leaving my relatives, leaving my daddy's house, leaving what I know. To get out here in the field with no food and water. There was a famine in the land. Watch this now. And Abram went down to Egypt to stay there for a while because the famine in the land was severe. See, I would have lost it right around through here. I would have lost it. I would have been looking back like, can we still get back to my daddy's house? Is there still time to turn around and go back? Because I ain't trying to be out here struggling when I'm trying to live for God. That's how we think. We think that we ought not struggle if we say we're going to do the right thing. We think that the promises of God are easy to believe. But there was a famine in the land. Why, God? Why a famine now? Why not a famine months ago before I left? Why you got to wait until I get out here? I'm questioning God's timing. Now, if you had brought this famine just a few months ago, Lord, I would have been all right. But you bringing it now that I'm out here, I got these 318 men and their families depending on me. Why? But that's just the beginning of the problems. Keep reading. Let's keep reading. When they were about to enter Egypt, Abram said to his wife Sarai, look here, girl. Now I know you might be getting up in age, but you still got it going on. And when they see you in Egypt, we're going to have the problem. So you just tell them that I's your brother. What would your conversation with God have been like in this moment? You got me out here in a famine, there's no food, no water, and now I'm in danger of losing my life because of my wife. This is what God asked Abram to walk into. And I know that sometimes we come for a word from the Lord that's going to help us in the week to come. So I'm giving you the word this morning that as soon as you think to yourself, you're going to take your spirituality to another level. Understand that just like Abram, God might have some things waiting for you. And I have struggled all of my spiritual life with this principle, because as easy as a life that I have had, I still want it easier. Y'all didn't hear what I said. I don't have an easy life. And sometimes we don't really know how big of a blessing it is, what we were saved from by being around the family of God. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that. And we should try to duplicate that for those that come behind us, for our children and for our grandchildren. But as easy as I have had it, Lord, I want it easier. I don't want no problems. I want to pull into the parking lot. I want my parking space to be right there. Hello? I don't want to have to wait for my fast food. It's called fast food for a reason, and get my order right. These are the big things that we worry about. I'm just telling you that I have had an easy life. Here is the insight today. When God gives you a promise, he will often give you a test right after the promise to see if you believe the promise. I'm not saying I like it. I ain't saying I like it for it to be this way. I'm saying that what I have learned in my short years is that it is shown up this way. And that the test sometimes comes so quickly after the promise, ain't no way it could be a coincidence. I quit believing in coincidences. After I'm talking to myself in my head, and then later on that day, now I quit believing in coincidences. That there are powers that I cannot see with the human eye. There are struggles, there are battles that cannot be perceived with human understanding, but something is going on in the mind of God. Something is going on with the deceiver called Satan, and the access that he has to us, what he knows about us, and what God allows him to do to us. So God will give a promise, and then he'll give a test. Sometimes many tests. Sometimes God will let you fail at something 3 or 4 times to still believe, see if you believe in him that you can do it, that he's going to do it. So many of us, we quit the first time because we want it easier. We've already had it easy in life, and we quit the first time. There's a blessing on the other side of that struggle. It might be 4, 5, 6 struggles. Keep struggling. There's a blessing. God told Abraham, I want you to go. Abraham went. Then the problem started. They tried to kill him. They wanted to kill him because of his wife. He had a famine. The problems just get worse. They get worse for Abram. And you all know what happens in Genesis 22. When Abram has to look at the son that God finally gives him. And God tells Abram, I want you to kill your son. And we can close the laptop. We can close after that. It's going to get worse for Abram. But I just want us to know this morning That whatever you're thinking in your head that you're going to do for God, whatever promise of God you're going to latch on to and say, I'm going to live my life in accordance with this, just understand. I wish I could tell you that as soon as you make that decision that the devil going to get out the way and the waters of the Red Sea are going to part and you're just going to walk through. No. Paul said, through many tribulations, we will enter into the kingdom of